What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the third installment of my series on conquering the staff ghosts. In this video, we're going to be showing you how to beat all of the bonus track staff ghosts on 150cc without using any mushrooms or advanced strategies. Just clean driving and tight lines. Bonus tracks here refers to all the tracks that were added as DLC for the original Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and that includes all of Egg Cup, Triforce Cup, Crossing Cup, and Bell Cup. I really want to reiterate the non-advanced bit of the introduction here. Playing the bonus tracks well is actually quite difficult, definitely more so than Nitro tracks and Retro tracks. In fact, for Ribbon Road and Big Blue, the tracks are so difficult that I'm actually going to show you two runs of each of those tracks, where the first is like the bare minimum you need to do to beat the staff ghost, and the second is a sort of next steps kind of a run. That's enough intro though, let's get to the runs. We're going to kick things off with Yoshi Circuit and finish up with Big Blue. Starting off with Yoshi Circuit, maybe I should clarify what I mean by these tracks being harder. Well, for almost all the Nitro and Retro tracks, you really only had to worry about doing one drift at a time, and with each drift you didn't really need to mess with the joystick that much. Obviously it can help you build up subsequent levels of Mini Turbo, but strictly speaking, it wasn't necessary to play the track. As you can probably tell just from watching this run, we're constantly alternating between left and right drifts, and oftentimes we need to hold hard drifting angles just to avoid falling off the track or bonking into the wall. It's not super hard to figure out, but it does represent quite a spike in track complexity over what we've encountered in the previous 32 tracks. Now for some track-specific info, for those of you who didn't know, this track is actually shaped like a Yoshi, so that's pretty cool. The only real driving tip is that when coming out of the tunnel, turn slightly left without drifting, and then start a right drift to take the first Piranha Plant turn safely. After that, you can more or less go straight down the rest of the curvy section and then follow my lines to beat the staff ghost. If you're using mushrooms, use them to cut through the waterfall at the start of the track because that saves a ton of time. That's it for Yoshi Circuit though, next up is Excitebike Arena. Really the only complicated thing about this track is the coins. I'm going to label the lanes 1 through 4 from left to right. What I like to do is just stay in lane 4 for the first straightaway and then move to track 2 for the second straightaway. You should be able to get 7 coins by the end of lap 1 this way. For the mud patches, drift around the inside of the first set of mud patches and then drift around the outside of the second set of mud patches. One interesting thing about this course is that while the time trial version is the same every time you play it, when you race online, the positions of all the different ramps changes on every playthrough. So I don't really recommend spending too much time on this track once you've beaten the staff ghost. Alright, let's move on to Dragon Driftway. What do you know? I've made it through 2 whole tracks without having to mention this yet, but now that we're on Dragon Driftway, I've gotta say, release those drifts early and take your lines as tight as possible. This course, like Yoshi Circuit, is going to have you constantly alternating between left and right drifts, so having good driving is going to be incredibly important for this track. Other than that, I've got 2 main pieces of advice. After getting past the turn with the large grass patch, you're going to come up on a ramp followed by a little bridge section. When going off this ramp, try and angle yourself slightly to the left so that you can take the turn tightly. Then in the final turn of the lap, try and hang out on the blue and gold lane divider in the middle of the track as much as you can. If using mushrooms, you can use them to cut the grass here instead. That's it for Dragon Driftway, let's move on to Mute City. Mute City is pretty unique in that the way that you grab coins is by going over the blue and purple coin pads on the sides of the track. The optimal way to do this is to avoid the first boost pad and then take a really tight inside line around the first turn. But this can be a bit tricky, which is why I opt to take a really wide outside line to grab the coins instead. There's not much else to this track other than just paying attention to the lines that I take and trying to replicate them as best as you can. After the second portion with the blue and purple coin pads, we're going to come up on a long right turn, followed by a left turn, and then another right turn into the final straightaway. Instead of taking the right turn the way that I do here, you can actually turn right much sooner and use your mushrooms to take a pretty sweet shortcut. Other than that though, let's move on to Wario's Gold Mine. Wario's Gold Mine is one of the most straightforward tracks in the entire game. Really the only thing to mention about it is that to avoid the bats, just hang out on the right hand side of the track. Oh, and also don't take the shortcut off to the left hand side of the end of the track. This is crazy slow. Also, not much to talk about in terms of mushroom strats, just look at how the world record uses mushrooms and try to copy that, but really you shouldn't even need mushrooms to beat this staff ghost in the first place, so we'll see you guys in SNES Rainbow Road. SNES Rainbow Road, or as we in the biz call it, SNES Rainbow Road, is actually a super complicated course if you're trying to play it at a high level. However, for our purposes, there's pretty much nothing to talk about other than the thwomps. The first set of thwomps always alternates from left to right, as do the thwomps at the split path section. When they pound the ground, they make little waves in the track, and just like in Bowser's Castle, you can actually trick off the tops of those waves. Not much else to say here though. See you guys in Ice Outpost. The game is being pretty merciful to me now in terms of explaining how the tracks work, because for the third time in a row, there's really not much to say other than pay attention to how I run the track and just do that. One thing to mention is that there's a lot of split path sections on the track, and aside from the inside of the tunnel and right after coming off the glider, you want to stay on the green track. The optimal route takes advantage of switching back and forth between the two paths, but yeah, we're not going to be doing any of that here, so that's it though. See you guys in Hyrule Circuit. Hyrule Circuit's a pretty awesome track. The optimal mushroom spot is at the very start of the lap. You can pretty much look at what the staff ghost does on lap 1 to get an idea of how it's supposed to look. When coming up on the glider, you actually don't want to land as soon as possible like you usually do with gliders, because then you'll have to go back up the stairs, and going down and back up is just a little bit slower than trying to stay at a constant height the whole time. When going into the castle, you're going to want to do a hard left drift. If you hit all 3 of the spinning boost turnstiles here, it actually raises a boost ramp and you can do a nifty little shortcut over the fountain. While the shortcut itself is faster than going around the fountain, the line you need to take to unlock that shortcut loses enough time that it makes it not worth it to go for. Other than that, some fancy drifting will carry you through the rest of the lap, and then we'll be moving on to Baby Park. Well, here we are, one of the absolute worst tracks in the entire game. Fortunately, I don't need to spend too much time talking about it. Grab the 3 coins from the inside part of the second straightaway, 4 more coins from the second turn, and then the last 3 coins from the outside part of the second straightaway. Other than that, just drive in circles for a bit and you should be able to claim victory without too much hassle. Catch you guys in Cheeseland. Cheeseland is a pretty tough course to play properly. There's a ton of sections where you need to alternate left and right drifts, and aside from saying pay attention to my lines, probably the biggest piece of advice is how to avoid the chain chomp at the end of the lap. I usually stay far to the left-hand side of the track and then either drift over the little hole in the ground or else trick off of it, but tricking off of it is probably the less safe option there. The best place to use your mushrooms on this track is at the very first cut through the gigantic cheese tunnel. Other than that though, take your lines as tightly as you can, follow what I do as closely as possible, and you should be able to beat the Staff Coast. And I will see you in Wild Woods. Welcome, fellow racers, to the best track in the entire game. But I'm not going to bore you with gushing over how much I love the track here, let's just get right into the strats. To snag an easy 7 coins, go to the left-hand path at the start of the run. You can do some fancy drifts here to build up some extra mini-turbos, but it's not really necessary. There's also a cool little shortcut you can do where you actually drift along the inside of the barrel on the bridge, but it doesn't save enough time that I'd suggest learning it if you're just starting out. In the waterfall section, you actually want to spend a lot of time hanging out in the middle of the track instead of trying to take super tight lines, since the downward motion of the water actually makes you go faster. The only other thing to mention is that on lap 2, we're going to take the right-hand path instead of the left-hand path. If you're using mushrooms, the only real place to use them is the obvious off-road path at the end of the lap. That's it for this run though, I'll see you all in Animal Crossing. There are 4 possible seasons that you can get if you play online, with most of them being more or less the same except for winter, which is just the worst. In the beach section, you only want to trick off the first ramp so that you can take a tight line around the following turn. If using mushrooms, use them to cut through the grass on the final turn, and other than that, we are going to move on to what is one of the hardest tracks to play in the entire game. Neo Bowser now. Like I said, one of the hardest tracks in the entire game. However, fortunately for us, the staff ghost kind of screws it up as well, so we've got a nice little buffer to work with. There's really only one thing to talk about in regards to what makes this track so difficult, and I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. About halfway through the course, we're going to come up on a little highway/bridge type section, and once we get out of it, we're going to encounter a series of really nasty turns. Here's how to navigate that section properly. After coming out of the highway section, immediately start a right drift and hug the wall as tightly as possible. Then as soon as you come out of that turn, immediately start a left drift and hug the left side of the track as tightly as possible. Finally, as soon as you come out of that left turn, immediately release the mini turbo and start your last right drift. On each one of these turns, you basically want to be doing hard right or hard left drift angles depending on which way you're turning. I suggest that when you get to this point in the run on lap 2 that you actually switch the playback speed to 50% so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. The goal here is to try and stay on the track without needing to use your brakes, and it definitely is possible with a little bit of practice. If you can do that, you'll be able to beat the staff ghost easily. The only other thing I want to point out about this track is that if you fly off to the left-hand side of the track after the glider, you can actually trick off of a little vent. I only just found out about this like a week ago, and I'm going to show you how to do this on lap 2. Sad thing is, it's actually slower than just landing on the track quickly and building up mini turbos, but it's pretty cool looking, so, go for it if you want to. Alright, let's move on to Ribbon Road. Ribbon Road is a bit of a weird track. It's actually not that hard to play, but it's probably got one of the most difficult staff ghosts to beat, and that's on 150 and 200cc. I'm going to show you 2 runs of this course. In the first run, which is obviously what we're watching now, there's really not that much to go over. Pay attention to the lines that I take, and when you get to the ribbon section, just drive straight through it. You'll notice that there are a lot of little wavy bits, and if you think back to Bowser's Castle or SNES Rainbow Road, you can actually trick off the peaks of the waves. This can be pretty risky though, and there's really only one super safe place to do it, which is what I show you in this run. In the second version of the run, I'll show you how to get even more tricks. You might notice some orange boost ramps on the right hand side of the ribbon section. Those are actually little shortcuts that you can take that are fast and do save quite a bit of time, but they can be pretty hard to learn how to do, and they're not really necessary to beat the staff ghost, especially if you're using mushrooms. And by the way, if you are using mushrooms, use them to cut the very last turn. Now I'm going to let the rest of this run and the second Ribbon Road run play out without any more commentary, so I'll see you guys in Super Bell Subway. Super Bell Subway is actually a pretty straightforward course in and of itself. What makes it difficult is the moving subway cars. Online, there's actually two patterns the subways can take, one where the red train is moving with you, and one where the blue train is moving with you. The red pattern is better, and fortunately that's what the time trial pattern is. I experimented with trying to find safe ways to play this track, and really, it's kind of unfortunate, but you're just going to have to get comfortable with tricking off the first stump and hanging out on the right-hand side of the track, since going off to the left of the first subway car loses a bunch of time, and it isn't even really that much safer. Now, like Neo Bowser, this Staff Ghost doesn't run the track particularly well, so as long as you can avoid hitting too much off-road or subway cars, it shouldn't be too difficult to beat the Staff Ghost, but it probably will take some practice. But now we're done with Super Bell Subway, let's move on to the final track in the game. Big Blue is a pretty cool course, if a bit linear for my tastes. Just like Ribbon Road, I'll show you two different ways of playing this track. For the first run, there's really only a couple things to note. First, the green conveyor belts make you go faster, and the red conveyor belts make you go slower. Problem is, the green conveyor belts tend to be on the outside of the track, so I tend to just try and drift in between the wall and the red conveyor belts. On lap 3, try and stay on the green conveyor belts as much as you can. Finally, when you get to the end of the track, take the purple path instead of the green path. For the second run, there's a few shortcuts I'm going to teach you how to do, but I'm going to hold off on the commentary until we actually get there. So I'll catch you guys in the next run. Now, moving on to the second run. It plays really similarly to the first run, but I'm going to teach you how to do some pretty cool shortcuts here. First, at the very start of section 2, you can use the track itself as a little ramp to help cut the first turn. Then, instead of following the track to the right like we did in the first run, you can actually do a left drift and fly down to the lower portion of the track. On both of these shortcuts, you're going to want to be holding down on the joystick because this track, and Mute City for that matter, have some weird anti-grav properties where holding down on the joystick in midair causes you to actually fall slower. So yeah, we want to take advantage of that fact to help give us enough time to clear the shortcuts. Now, neither of these shortcuts are super hard to learn, and the reason that I wanted to do 2 separate runs of this track is because pretty much everyone who plays online knows how to do these shortcuts. So if you want to play online, I definitely recommend learning how to do them. Finally, at the very end of section 3, we're going to again take the purple path, but then we're going to switch down to the green path. Once we get down there, we're going to hit the boost ramps and then do a left drift, just like the shortcut on section 2, and this is going to allow us to cut the whole last turn. Other than that though, if you've made it this far, then congratulations, you've successfully conquered all of the staff ghosts on 150cc. In my personal opinion, Bell Cup probably has the hardest tracks in the entire game, and it also has the hardest staff ghost, so it's no small challenge to have gotten this far. If you found these videos useful, please don't forget to drop a like and a comment, because this not only lets me know that you're enjoying my content, but it lets YouTube know to recommend these videos to other racers who might also need help conquering the staff ghost as well. I'll be putting together similar videos for the 200cc staff ghost, but probably not for another few weeks since I'll be back to the basic training grind for the next few weeks. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video and the others in the series, and I will catch you in the next one.